I got to see how they come live.
What? What do you say? I didn't hear. Okay.
He forgot he wasn't muted. That's what happened.
I hear. Okay, so let's see. So terabanan, yeah. Ain't simchen es a gezeira b'bakas. You're not allowed to lean a gezeira on top of wood. V'chein hadelas, and the same thing with the delas, which we said last night, right before the end of a line above this, is that you can't put you can't lean a door on wood. Why? Because of this shita that says that wood is only for burning and that's it. You can only use wood for burning and not for any other use. Reb Shimon, as he says with anything with muktza, he says it's mutter. There's no problem. You could use the wood for whatever you want. And you're not allowed to use a stick in order to make the animal walk on Yom Tov. Reb Shimon says it's mutter. So maybe let's say Reb Shimon holds like his father who doesn't hold a muktza. So and therefore that's why he holds you're allowed to walk with your animal with a stick to hit the animal. So when it says here even Reb Shimon is Maida. Reb Shimon, who doesn't normally hold a muktza, here he doesn't hold its muktza, he holds that you're not allowed to walk with an animal with a stick. Why? Because it looks like you're going to sell the animal.
It's a maras ayin issue?
Again, same thing. I don't think it's a maras ayin as it is. It looks like a weekday thing. It's not for others. I think it's for yourself. Right?
I found this line interesting. They learned in a cave.
You know what?
They learned in a cave together for 13 years, and the Gemara still has to say, maybe they hold the same.
I hear. Let's see.
Maybe he holds like his father.
Right. You would hope in the cave together they held like each other. That's what you said.
They had one chavrusa for 13 years.
Right.
But still, it's a maybe he holds like him.
Very good. Taka.
Don't think Shammai and Hill could hold that in Machlokes for 13 years?
That's
they weren't each other's sole chavrusa for 13 years.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with someone to be chavrusas with someone. I've been learning with Sviako for 15 years.
No, we always agree on everything, Simon. What are you talking about?
Yeah. That's me, Mr. Agreeable.
Okay, right. So chizra, yeah. So chizra is like a piece of wood that's pointy on the end. You know, when kids go to look for wood to roast marshmallows on a campfire or frankfurters, whatever it is. So you want to get a piece of stick that has a pointy end. So that's a chizra. So Reb Nachman also Reb Sheshes Shari. Reb Nachman says it's also because it's muktza, and Reb Sheshes says it's mutter because he holds it's not a problem. What? If you want.
Are you happy?
No. If it's moist, meaning it's still what do you call it? Fresh. Not fresh. There's a better word for that. It's
Moist.
No, moist. But I'm saying, but is when you take a piece of wood that's you break it off a branch, so it's still moist. It's not going to burn.
It's still green.
Green. Yeah, that's what they say. They call it green. Very good. See, we do agree. Yes, the bativa kuli amalei pligi da asa. So when it's green, everybody holds that it's asa. Why? Because no, you wouldn't use it for firewood because it's not going to burn because it's moist. Ki pligi be a veshta. When are we disagreeing? When it's a dry piece of wood. The one that says asa says wood can be used for firewood and that's it. Umandashari. And the one that says it's mutter, mali litzlis by mali litzlis b'kachalte. What's the difference to roast with it? I think this is what Aaron Zweig was saying yesterday. Mali litzlis by, what's the difference if I'm roasting with it? Mali litzlis b'kachalte. What's the difference if I'm using it for coals? Meaning once you're able to use it for wood to burn it, so why can't I use it to cook something in a fire? Essentially, it's doing the same thing. This piece of wood is going into the fire. Right? So therefore,
It's not though. It's not. One is actually fueling the fire. One, at least
right, but
article says it's
theoretically, you
using
can
it
put
as
it
a
into the
spit.
right. That's true, but theoretically, once you're done with the spit, you put it in the fire. Right? Imagine that's what many people do with their spits. You use it and then you put it into the fire. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what one seems to see saying. Mali litzles boy, mali litzles b'kachalte. What's the difference? You're roasting with the coals after you use this wood, or meaning if you put this wood into the fire, so you're using the coals or not. Yeah, fine. That's one way. Right? This or the opposite, which when it's dry, everybody holds its mutter. When they have the machlokes, when it's green, meaning when it's fresh. The one that says it's also to use because you can't use it as firewood anyway, so therefore you don't have your mind on it, and therefore it's muktza. You can use fresh green wood if it's a massive fire. You could put it in there, and eventually it'll dry out. The fire will dry it out, and then that new wood will burn. What's the bottom line? If it's dry, it's mutter. If it's moist, it's aser. Dorash Rava, Isha. Now I wasn't sure why it has to be an Isha. I don't know why the Gemara is saying that, but an Isha, a woman should not go into a dira eitzim. It literally means a corral for wood, but it means a storage place for wood to take from it a ud, right, which is also like a spit, in order to use by the oven. So that's first. So she should not go in there because we're saying that he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, who says that you're not allowed to use wood for an unintended use. Wood is meant to be burned, and that's it. For ud shenishbar, and if you did already have a spit that broke on Yom Tif, also lasika be Yom Tif, then you're not allowed to use it as firewood on Yom Tif because it's muktza. If it would have broken before Yom Tif, then maybe. Why? Because like we said before, a couple of blot ago, you're allowed to use, masikin means to use as a fire with utensils that are full, that are complete utensils. Why? Because they're not muktza. But you're not allowed to use broken kalim in a fire because those are muktza. You never had it in your das before Yom Tif to use them. Right? It's actually, this comes out, it's like really the opposite of what you think. If you ask somebody, can I use whole utensils in a fire on Yom Tif or only broken ones? So you would say, yeah, that's what I would think. Use the broken ones, not the whole ones. All right. So what Gemara is saying, no, it's the opposite, because the whole ones, you plan on using a whole Yom Tif, so therefore they're not muktza, so pick them up and throw them into the fire. But broken kalim that broke on Yom Tif, you're not allowed to use it because you didn't plan on using it for firewood, right? But we did say that if it breaks before Yom Tif, then it would work. This is the one where it breaks on Yom Tif. So Gemara asks, the Rabba Bar Yehuda, Svirale de Islay Muktza, that he holds a muktza, and that's why he says you're not allowed to use the broken kalim. V'amar Rabba l'shamei. Rabba told the shamas, Tvili bar avza, roast me a goose, b'shadi me'el l'shunra, and take the insides, the intestines, and throw it to the cats. Now, how are you allowed to throw it to the cats if there would be muktza? The insides would be muktza. So you see that he does not hold a muktza, so it's a stira whether Rabbi Yehuda, Rabba Bar Yehuda holds a muktza. So he said no hasam. What? The graf shalrei. The graf shalrei means you just have a heter to get rid of it. Doesn't mean you can go carry it over to the cat. Right?
Here's my question. You're allowed to shecht on Yom Tov, yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
So if you're shechting on Shabbos, you have to eviscerate. So it's not muktzah if you're eviscerating. You can't cook the stuff with the intestines and stuff. So while they're eviscerating,
but can you then take it? So you throw it on the floor and then you're finished.
What's the difference?
Throw it on the floor and the cats eat it there?
Hold on, once you're holding it, yeah?
Once you're holding it.
Once it's in your hand, it's not muktzah, it's already in your hand. When you're visiting, you're
Who
pulling all
said-
the stuff. It's already there. So why don't you just chuck it and chuck it in the street to the cats? Who cares?
What does Tysus say?
1 second. Let's hold on. Do
you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear. So a part of it has to do with that it's dafka to a cat, right? Because to a dog, right? To a dog would be mutter. Right? See, Rashi says, right?
Why dafka to a cat? Because he said it's lashunra.
He's saying
It could
dafka to
go
a
to
cat.
anything. Who cares? There just happen to be cats in the street, not wild dogs. Who cares?
No, I'm saying he's because Rashi's saying that it's muchan to Adam and not for. I'm sorry, I said he can't give it to dogs either. Meaning he's really putting as a the shaila is why the Gemara is using cat. Like why cat?
That's
Right?
what he said.
Maybe cats eat.
No, I'm saying, but why did he say that? Because he only
Maybe
had cats.
like kishkas of goose. I don't know.
I don't know
Wait,
either. But
Rashi,
the point
Rashi
is
seems
that
to
you
say
can't
it's
give it
lav
to animals.
dafka.
Right, Rashi's saying it's lav dafka. Right? I said
He
before.
puts
I said
cats and
it's-
dogs in the same Rashi.
Yeah, right. It has to be in a vela from before Yom Tov. That's what Tysus is saying. That's what Rashi is saying. And we had this a few times in the Masechah. It has to be in a vela before Yom Tov in order to be able to give it to the animals. Once it becomes an avela on Yom Tov, then you can't. Yeah. So then I don't know Zev what you're asking about, but Tysus asks. So how do you ever take raw meat on Yom Tov? If you're not eating it, meaning how do you take raw meat that you don't plan on eating on Yom Tov? Maybe it's
No.
muktza.
That'd be a different. That's a different situation though, because we're talking about things that don't have use on Yom Tov. Yeah, like we're talking about green sticks and making whatever.
I thought raw meat that you're not cooking into.
No, so but mayayim you could eat if you want it.
What?
You could eat the innards.
Certain
these
parts of
things.
the innards. You're not eating.
He's
you're
saying
not eating. You're not eating.
No, but
certain
he's saying
parts.
the way Rashi's understanding it, it's out to muktza and he's feeding it to cats. Why is it muktza? Tysus is asking. Why should it be muktza? Does any meat that you don't plan on eating become muktza?
I thought raw meat that you don't plan on eating. I thought it was muktzah.
What?
I thought raw meat was muktzah.
Well, that's a
You
whole
can't-
shayla in the Gemara. The Gemara.
I thought like beans that you can't
What?
cook and stuff like that. I bet you leave a bag of beans on the counter. You can't.
Yeah, but
eat
on
it
Yom Tov, yes, because Yom Tov you can cook it. That's Shabbos.
Right.
You
On Yom Tov,
Yom Tov you
you
can.
can't cook. If you're not going to cook it.
So that's what's mashroom in this Gemara. If you're not going to cook it, you're not going to eat it. It's muktza. So Tysus is asking, what are you talking about? Why should it be
You could cook
muktza? Yeah.
How can
Well,
you say
like
it's
a whale.
muktza if you can't put it away anyplace? You let it go to the garbage.
Right,
They-
right. That's
They
exact. That's
didn't have
Tysus.
any refrigeration there, Baron.
So
No, but that's Tysus kasha. So you have to be able to do something with it. So why should
What do
it
you
be
mean?
muktza?
What do you mean? So
he
Oh.
checks an animal. There's 20 pounds of edible meat. His wife
yeah,
is
and what
cooking
about the
for-
stuff they left over?
Can
What
I
about the stuff
finish
they leave over?
talking? Can I finish talking?
I don't think you can.
I think
Okay,
you're saying
fine.
the same thing. I think you're saying the same thing. I think you're both saying the same thing. You could have been in a cave together. I'm saying it's
If it's his
Um,
cave, if it's a cave that he's sitting in with all this farm,
I
want
would
one.
pay money to see that.
But anyway, you think you're saying the same thing. How could it be that you can't move meat on Yom Tov?
It's not saying that. It's not saying that. It didn't say meat. It said the evisceration, the intestines.
Good, but that's kosher.
If you're
it's
so
kosher meat.
makbid on saying lashunra, you have to be so.
But nobody
makbid on saying-
eats it. But nobody eats it.
Sure, they do.
So
They do
what?
make
But
shit back
Lamaisa,
in
you
the day.
could feed, but why should I make it muktza? That's Tysus kasha. Why should I make it muktza? Because nobody eats it.
What do
Nobody
you
eats
mean?
the sponge
Wait a
cake at a
minute.
kiddush
There's
either,
no-
right? Right? Nobody eats a sponge cake at a kiddush, but it's
Macro.
there.
No one eats
Eventually, it gets
macros.
eaten.
Eventually, it gets eaten. I didn't know that. I thought it's the same sponge cake from week to week. But whatever. I'm saying. Though anyway,
The
that's
way
Tysus
Tyson
kasha.
puts it, it's even worse. He says it is eaten. They just don't eat it on Yom Tov because they have better things to eat.
Okay, that's
Nevada,
also.
they eat it. Right.
So anyway, so Tysus teretz is it's talking about we're already decayed. I don't know how it decayed so fast. That's what Tysus is saying. It decayed so fast. So memela, it's not edible. But of course,
A spoiled meat is muktzah. You can't throw it out.
what
Spoiled meat is muktzah. You can't throw it out.
spoiled meat?
Is it leave it on the counter? You can't throw it out.
That I don't know. That's a good question.
Graf
Spoiled
Shammai.
meat. Well, if it's disgusting, but if it's not disgusting, doesn't mean spoiled meat doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's disgusting.
It's gonna be if you leave it there overnight.
Let's say it's the
I don't
second day of Yom Tov.
I don't know.
Let's say it's been
Yeah.
spoiling for 90 days, like parrots is.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Yeah. Okay. So whatever. Anyways, the Gemara's Tarot says, "Hasam kimin the misrchime esmol daiti lovi." Since you knew that it's going to be decayed, right? If you're going to leave it over till the day after Yom Tov, it's going to decay. So Mamela, yesterday, before you shechted the animal, you knew you were going to take these intestines and give it to the cat. So Mamela, it's not muktza. I can't say I understand that teretz either. Meaning you know that tomorrow it's going to get decayed. So therefore, you have in your mind on erev Yom Tov that the intestines are not going to be muktza. Mamela, you can throw it to the cat. Rabban, you're not
Just
like me.
because they didn't have refrigerators doesn't mean they ate all the meat every time they shechted an animal. They had ways to keep it for a day or 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. I mean, go back. It's ridiculous what everybody is saying, that it spoils and it's mukt. It's ridiculous. They shecht the sheep.
Yeah, but-
They don't have to eat the whole sheep that day.
You're right,
On
Reb
Yom Tov.
Aaron. Reb Aaron, you're right. When it comes to fleishiks, when it comes to the actual flesh, when it comes to the evisceration, it's not
That's what
true.
we're talking about.
When it no, but we're talking about the intestines, and the intestines have
excuse
bacteria.
me,
Hello. When the bacteria sits in the intestines and all the other stuff, it spoils exponentially faster than the meat does.
Is that so?
Exponentially faster.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I hear so then maybe that's why it's talking discussing the intestines as opposed to the meat.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Because all that bacteria, that's where it comes from. That's the shirish of bacteria right there.
I hear. Okay, I hear. Okay, so let's see weiter. Yeah, so Rebbe Eliezer Reimer, I'm sorry. A person could take a piece of wood from in front of him in order to do his teeth. Meaning you basically see a piece of wood on the floor, you use it as a toothpick. Right? And you can gather from the chutzner any pieces of wood, meaning anything that's laying around the yard, you're allowed to. There's not a sada. It's not to be confused with a sada. A sada is further out. A chutzner means right in front of your house. So your mind is on any little pieces of wood that are laying around your yard. Anything in a yard is considered mukhan. It's fair game. It's fair game to be used on Yom Tov. Chum disagree. They say only what's in front of you, right? Only what's in front of you can you take, but not in the yard. Only what's in front of you in the house, not in the yard. That's the way Rashi says it. So that's the first part of the Mishnah. And the second part of the Mishnah is probably as common a shaila as we get in Yom Tov. You're not allowed to take fire, not from wood, not from stones, not from dirt, not from these tiles that get very hot, and not from water. Meaning, if you take, take the magnifying lens and put it with the water and let the sun make some fire, right? So all of these things, there are no new flames whatsoever, which we'll see in the Gemara why that is. And you're not allowed to heat up these tiles in order to roast on them, which we'll see in the Gemara why that is. So really, the Mishnah is saying two separate dinim. One is that there's a machlokes whether any wood that's laying around your yard, not your field, your yard, is muktza or not, right? And the second thing is that you're not allowed to take fire, right? Now, what it means take fire, it means taking fire from scratch. But of course, you could take a fire from one candle and light another candle, or light a cigarette, right? As long as you're not starting with the fire from scratch, that's the only fire from scratch is a problem. So I'm on Talmud Beis now. Animal food does not have any isser of tikkun kli. Right, so Rashi says straw and reeds and all these type of things. So you're allowed to cut them and to fix them, meaning you can just go over to some reeds, as long obviously they have to be detached from the ground. You can't detach them from the ground. That's koitza. But if you have a piece of straw laying on the ground that's meant to be eaten by animals, you're allowed to take that piece of straw, cut it down, and use it as a toothpick, because since it's animal food cannot have tikkun kli. Okay, so Rav Kana Rav Yehuda, Rav Kana asks a kasha on this, metaltal and atze besamim lariach behen. You're allowed to take besamim wood in order to smell them, ulahanef behem, the chayla, and to do tenufa, wave them in front of a chayla so that the chayla should smell it, and I guess it helps them breathe. And you can roll it, right? Sometimes when you take besamim and you roll it, it starts smelling. And you can smell it, but you're not allowed to cut it in order to smell it. But if you did, you're potter, but it's also to do. Meaning it's a derabanan. We know, right, from way back with Hilchas Shabbos, with Gemara Shabbos, that potter aval asr means.
Thank you.
Potter aval asr means. Hold on a second. Yeah, potter aval asr means that it's also a derabanan. Yeah. So again, some you're allowed to take it to smell it. You're allowed to roll it to smell it, but you're not allowed to cut it to get the smell out of it. But if you did, it's also. Laftas b'shinov, but if you want to use it as a toothpick, lo yikat menu, you can't cut it. Bim kat mu chayiv chatas, and if you did cut it, you chayiv chatas, which means it's also midaraisa. So Rashi says, so what's the kasha? Some of these besamim are animal food. So how could you say that we said that you're allowed to cut animal food because there's no way to make a kli out of animal food? Here we're talking about besamim, and we say it's also to cut it. Even midaraisa, it's also to cut it. And even though some besamim is animal food. So which is very interesting. The Tosfos discusses exactly what the Gemara wants with this. He's saying, Potter also you have a kasha from chayiv chatas. You need to bring a kasha from, meaning he's agreeing that this is a kasha. What he's saying is that's talking about kashin, right? That's talking about hard animal food, not animal food, but hard straw and hard pieces of wood. So when it's kashin, that you can't use, as animals can't eat it. It's too hard for them. So then you would not be able to cut it. Kashin, so the Gemara says, kashin b'nei melila ninu. If something's so hard that an animal can't bite into it, will you be able to roll it and get any smell out of it? You wouldn't be able to roll it and get any smell out of it. So chasura mechzav, so there's something missing from this whole brayso, and this is how you have to learn it. You can roll it, and you can smell it. And you could cut it and smell it. But that's only by soft, but by hard, you shouldn't. And if you do, then it's pater avalasa. Lachsas peshinov, to do your teeth, you shouldn't cut it. But if you are going to cut it, then you chayiv chatas. Right? So meaning there's two separate dinim. By rachin, it's no problem because it's animal food. But when it's hard, then you're not allowed to cut it. And if you do, it's pater aval also. But to use it as a toothpick, also you can't do it. But if you did, then you chayiv chatas because you made it into a toothpick. If you cut it just for the psamim, you're not making it into a kli. Right? Again, it gets a little technical. It's not complicated. It gets a little technical. So you have this piece of psamim, right? If you cut it just to get the smell out of it, so you're not making a kli. You're just trying to get the psamim out of it. So Rabbanan said it's asur because it looks very similar to making it into a kli. But if you cut it to make it into a toothpick, so now you're creating a toothpick. Now you just created a kli. Since you created a kli, that would be asur midaras. Yeah. So that the Gemara says the same thing. We have one brayso that says you cut the psamim and you could smell it, but you're not allowed to cut it to smell it. So what's the stira? Some of Zera, same teretz. Some of Chisda, like kasha, haberach and habekashin. One is talking about soft, one is talking about hard. Okay, so now we differentiate between soft pieces of wood and psamim and straw and hard. So maskul Rav Acha bar Yaakov, bekashin amayloi. How come with hard ones you're not allowed to cut it? Why is it any different than what we learned in the Mishna? You're allowed to break a barrel in order to take the dried figs out of it. As long as you don't have kavanah to make a kli. Right, so the brayso says, again, this is where we get into where we're starting to get into what's negayat us every Shabbos. You're allowed to break and every Yom Tov. You're allowed to break a barrel to eat a dried fig out of it, right? As long as your kavana is not to make a kli. Let's apply this to soda bottles, potato chip bags, bags of whatever, all types of food, right? If you go base it on this Mishna,
You can open.
right, that you're allowed to open up a barrel even, and it's even
But you have to
becoming
destroy
clean.
it. So you got to
No,
tear
that's
it down
The
the
Mishnah
side.
doesn't say that. Mishnah doesn't say that. The Mishnah, this Mishnah so far says, kli. As long as your kavana is not to make it into a
So you can
kli.
open a can of tuna.
You'd be able to, according to this Mishnah,
Yeah.
sounds like you could open anything. We're not finished. But this is what it sounds like right now. Again, a person can break a barrel, it doesn't say as long as you don't make it into a kli, as long as you don't have kavana to make it into a kli.
Is it a
Huh?
separation?
Meaning you got to break it open. If it makes a kli, it makes a kli. If it doesn't make a kli, it doesn't make a
Can
kli.
of tuna you don't break open, you open it.
Let's see. Furthermore, harava barav ada v'ravan barav ada da'amr tavayu. Right? You have Rabba bar Ravada and Ravan bar Ravada, two brothers, Gershon, L'chayra, right? And they're agreeing. That's what it's saying. Damri Tavayu, right? Two brothers that are agreeing. Ki Avina be Rav Yehuda, have a mefasheach. He would cut off branches, v'yavlan alusa, and give us these big sticks. He would take off, and Rashi says, obviously, he's ripping off these branches, and they made these big sticks for us. Now, he's obviously, Rashi says it has to be detached from the ground, because if it's attached to the ground, it's a koitza, right? Even though the wood, you could have used it as to make handles for tools, for axes and chatzini is other type of those type of tools, right? Yeah. So you see that he cut them wood, and he gave it to them, even though those pieces of wood could have theoretically be used as utensils. They could have been axe handles, right? Or other tool handles. So why was he not concerned? Right? Meaning, again, this is where the kasha is from. It doesn't, the barrel has nothing to do with this. We're going to get back into that in a minute. But the point is that from here we see that you're allowed to cut down wood, and there's no issa derabanan. We said you're not allowed to cut down the psamim, right? You're not allowed to cut down the psamim because we're afraid it's a gezeira derabanan that maybe you're going to end up cutting it down for a toothpick. But here, how come he wasn't concerned that he's cut down wood and he gave it to them, and he wasn't concerned that maybe they're going to use it as an axe handle? So we say, Lekasha, Rav Eliezer, Rabbanan. One is Rav Eliezer, and one is the Rabbanan, right? To the Tanya, Rav Eliezer, I'm a Naitalah, and Kissim Mishalafan of Lachs by Shinov. Rav Eliezer says you're allowed to take a little piece of wood to do your teeth. You're only allowed to take it from the, how do you call it? The trough, right? The trough, the trough of a behema. For Shavin, when they both agree, but they both agree that you're not allowed to cut it down. And if you did cut it down in order to use it as a toothpick, or to use it as a pick to open up a lock, if you do it b'shoigeg on Shabbos, you chayav chatas, and mezid on Yom Tov, you get 40 malchus. It's only a shvus. So you see that it's a machlokes tanoim if we're concerned about whether cutting down this wood is an issa d'oraisa or not. Yeah, fine. So Rebbe Eliezer, the Ka'amar Hosam, Chayev Chatos. So Rebbe Eliezer over there says you Chayev Chatos for cutting the wood to use it as a kli. Hacha Potter Avalasa. Here he's going to say it's Potter Avalasa, right? Because it's a derabanan. Rabbanan, the Ka'amri Hosam Potter Avalasa, and the Rabbanan over there who says that cutting down wood is Potter Avalasa. Hacha, right? Here it's Motor Lechatchila. Yeah, meaning whatever you held over there by the cutting down by the toothpicks, whatever you hold there, you're downgrading it here one step lower. So therefore, if you held it was also midaraisa, so this is going to be also midarabanan. If you held over there is only also midarabanan, then here is going to be motor lechatchila. Right? So that's why you're allowed to. That would be the difference between the brisa, the two brisas. or is a Bryce in the Mishna of what we hold. Fine. So now the Gemara says, "But Leslie Rabbi Eliezer hadatnan shoyver adam is a chavas lechem mimena groiger so v'vachli yischaven lasses kli." So now what comes out is that Rabbi Eliezer is disagreeing with the Mishnah that says that you're allowed to break a barrel in order to get out the dried figs from it, as long as you don't have kohana to make a kli. So Ravashi kitanya hi b'mustaki. That's talking about a mustaki. Now, what is a mustaki? A mustaki is a utensil that was broken, that they patched up, and they fixed it, right? So therefore, nobody's ever going to use this as a utensil because it's no good. It's never going to become a good utensil. So therefore, you're allowed to break it open. And that's what Rabbi Eliezer holds, that there's no issa derabanan to break it open on the chashash that you're going to make a kli. Again, Rabbi Eliezer keeps saying that we don't allow you to break these kalim midrabanan because maybe you're going to be able to issa deraisa. So how come you're allowed to break open a barrel? Maybe you're going to make the barrel into a kli. He says, no, we're talking about a barrel that nobody would ever use it as a kli, right? So therefore, you're allowed to open up these barrels. Now, this is what the pasken bring. Rav Moshe brings it, and Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach brings it, that a lot of these packages that we have nowadays, nobody's ever going to use it as a kli, right? Like the plastic that's around the magazines, the plastic that's around the plastic plates and plastic bags, maybe potato chips, these type of things.
Yaakov, using a soda can is not used as a kli.
Correct. So that's what some people say. Also, all these things, we never are going to use it as a kli. There's no
bottle
chashash.
people refill.
There's no, but the issue with the bottles is not the bottle. The issue with the bottles is the caps.
The cap you don't
Right.
use.
That's a different issue than this.
But some people do use those jars as a kli later on. I'm saying
The jar is not an issue. That's not an issue. The jar was a kli before Yom Tov. The jars, the bottles,
yeah,
those are not.
but it's closed. You can't use it as a
We're
kli now.
No, but that's only because there's a cap on top of it.
Oh.
Right? We're talking
So what about like
potato
the
chips.
cans, tuna cans and stuff? What about that?
So some say that has a din of a mustaki, exactly what the Gemara says here, right? And therefore, the makilim would say that any kli, Shmir Shabbos Kol Chasa says this, any kli that you plan on throwing out and nobody ever saves again, you can open because it's a mustaki. Joe, what's the Gemara saying here? This barrel full of things, since it was a busted barrel that was patched up, nobody's ever going to use this. Not a chance anybody's going to use that barrel. So therefore, you can open anything that's the regular derech is to throw it in the garbage is a mustaki. Right? That's the way Rav Shlomo Zalman
You have
said.
to use the whole bag at that time, meaning a potato chip bag.
So some say no. Some
And
say
then when
that,
you're
well,
keeping the rest of the potato chips, you're using it as a kli.
right. So some say, well, now you're creating the potato chips, you're making it into a kli. Right? That's what some say. That's what the whole
So if you open up a
machlokes.
potato chip bag, you got to finish it.
Right? I thought you see you opening a whole can of worms. Okay.
Lenya, how'd that
But,
work out for you, Lenya? How's that working out?
Look at me. You can see I'm very religious when it comes to these things.
Yeah. But anyways, that's
Wait, how
That's
does it
the
apply
issue.
to a potato chip bag?
because some, the large potato chip bags you keep for a longer time.
It
So
was
some
already
say
a
that's
kli,
not a
wasn't it?
mustaki. Some say it's not a mustaki. What?
When they put the chips in it in the factory, it was a kli. Same kli you're making it now.
No, but now that it was sealed, you're creating it. Well,
Why
now
is
that
that
it
a
was
new
sealed.
kli?
You know what I mean?
You're using it to store your potato chips you didn't finish.
So did the factory when they added the chips in the beginning.
First of all, it's
So
also
the bottle
called
cap, the
having-
bottle cap's a little bit different. It was never a kli because it was clamped on as a flat piece. That's the story.
We talk about the bottle.
Here, this was a kli.
It held your soda from the factory.
The bottle, there's no shine on. That's a kli already. You're not making the bottle a kli. The cap is here.
The barrel was
The
also
cap-
kli that the Gemara is talking
Okay,
about.
what are you saying, Doctor?
The barrel was also a kli. The Gemara is talking
Bottle,
about
yeah,
a
the
barrel.
bottle was a kli, but the
barrel,
barrel.
the barrel.
Oh, the barrel was a kli. Yeah, well, that's what we're saying. That it was a kli, but if it's a busted up kli, right? He said he's saying that you see, Gersh, he's saying, doctor's saying that it's the barrel was a kli before, it's just the chashash that you're making it back into What also making the opening, that's another issue. You're making the opening. So with the potato chip bags and all, you're making an opening. So that's why you say you have to open up a little rougher. That's part of the reason why some places are more machmir with soda cans than they are with other things is because cans, even though they go to the garbage, but the can has it's like mechatech, because you're when you flip it open, you're very happy with that opening that enables you to drink the soda. Right, so that's an additional issue. But the point is, if you want to sound, what do you say?
Yeah, but the makilim will tell you either way. You still don't care about the actual size.
Correct. So that's anachanami.
As long as you don't care, it's not machatech.
Yeah. You're going to throw it in the garbage anyways. But if you want to sound educated, this word is mustaki. Anybody says, "Hey, open packages, mustaki." That's all you got to say, and then nobody has anything what you're talking about. And but that's what it is. It comes from here. If you look at the last line of Taisus, right? He says that since
So
you
could have hit that fellow with a mustaki.
Yeah, I should have. I should have, right? But so the way Taisus says it is, since the barrel is connected with pitch, right? And there's no full pieces there. There's no tikkun kli whatsoever. You cannot have a tikkun kli on this thing, right? Okay, whatever it is, that's the whole sugi based mamish on this one word is where all the tumul in the pasken comes from. Fine. Yeah.
Does Ramesha go so far as to be matter it even when there's writing on it? I heard something about that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know. That's an
like
additional
an equal
issue.
packet. Since you're ripping the whole thing, it's garbage anyway. It's not even meichik.
Right. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So let's see. Megavim in a chotzer. You're allowed to gather in the chotzer. Tanaban megavim in a chotzer umadlik. You're allowed to gather this wood from the chotzer and light it up. Shekol masha b'chotzer muchanhu. Anything in the yard is considered prepared and not muktza. U'v'vachala yaset tziburin, you can't pile it up, right? Because that already looks like you're doing it not for Yom Tov. But Reb Shimon says it's mutter. But Ma'ikam Miflgi, why does one say yeah and one say no? Mar savar mechsi the kamachnif l'machar liyamachrina. It looks like you're piling it up for the next day and the day after that. Mar savar kedei rasem mechechas alav. No, the pot that's sitting there, right? You have this pot. You're making a fire in order to cook. So it's clear that you're lifting up you have the pot in order to you're gathering all the wood in order to cook. So nobody's going to think. Doesn't look like. See, I don't know, Zev, if it's a marasayin issue, again, to yourself, it doesn't look like anything. Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll stop here because the next sugi is a little bit more in depth with the lighting the fire on Yom Tov. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Right.
By the way, if anybody on the All Daf app, they have a good synopsis of all the different packaging, opening, what you're allowed to do on one of the things there.
On where? All Daf?
On the All Daf app, in the insights or whatever they call it, they have a good synopsis.
Brings this down. I'm saying this is where he gets his.
Yeah, this synopsis is based on Shmir Shabbos Chasa. Shmir Shabbos Chasa is the most maker with opening packages. Push comes to shove, he matters everything. He says that you should open everything before that. He does say.
But that's what I'm saying. He says that specifically.
He says not to get involved in the shaila.
Yeah, but when it says open it before Shabbos, it doesn't really give you any.
What's the fun in that?
Right, I'm saying it doesn't really give you much room to negotiate.
Well, he's saying if you did, but if you didn't,
if Tully Landau would open up his bartenura of wine before Shabbos, it would be flat in the can. I mean, why would he do that?
I need my can open on Friday night after the show.
I mean, he wouldn't want to do that.
Right, Rev Aaron?
This is not one of the sections they machmired up to.
No, they did not.
Not yet.
They didn't have to. Ramesh is much more machmer on most things, so they had him. So they didn't need to. They didn't need to make Rosh Hashanah.
Tiago, was your tweet today on Shnayim Mikra or just Stam reviewing the parsha?
No, Shnayim Mikra.
Oh, okay.
So Rabbi Stein, speaking of that, there's a new WhatsApp group that they started for Shnayim Mikra.
Oh yeah.
They haven't posted anything yet, so I don't know if it's any good.
All right. All right, get involved. I'm
We
gonna run
need
to
another
my.
WhatsApp group.
Jesse, I was just about to say that's what I'm lacking. Another WhatsApp
All
group.
right.
I'll make sure to send you the link then.
I'm sure you will.
Alright.
Thanks, Jesse. Good
Bye,
night, everybody.
All right.
Yaakov. You there? Yes, not.